Okay, welcome to class number 100. 100. We're trying to think of what kind of party favors to give out, swag for the 100th recording. We're still working on that. 100 of Faith and Calm. So tonight we're going to try and do, this is actually a class for Molly. And Molly in here, it says in the Gemara, it says that a person who reads the Megillah backwards has not fulfilled his mitzvah. You hear it backwards also. You haven't fulfilled your mitzvah. I understand, if you skip words, you do other things, but what do you mean that you read it backwards? Who would ever think of reading the Gemara backwards? So I mean, literally, and the Megillah backwards. It's true. It's not, it's obviously technically true, but the Baal Shem Tov explained, it said, no. There's a message here. The reason the rabbis phrased it this particular way, because whoever reads the Megillah, like if it was something that happened backwards, back in time, it was something that happened 1,800 years ago. It's not relevant to today. You don't understand the Megillah. The Megillah is happening right now. So what I'm going to do, and this is based on a talk by Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, I'm going to connect it to current events. Yes, we've got something very exciting going on in Ukraine. We're going to connect what the Megillah is with this whole idea, what's happening right now. Hi, Davida. Still celebrating Purim. So, you're going to start out with a little explanation. I mean, so what's happening in the Ukraine? What's going on? So let me show this. There's the light in the dining room. Yeah. Okay, good. I'll block it. Good. Oh, there we go. So Rabbi Y.Y. said his parents came from Ukraine, and came from Russia, one from Ukraine, one from Moscow. And he said there's two jokes that they tell about the Russians that sort of very much capture the whole philosophy, the attitude that they had there. The first one was, there was a Jewish guy, and he went to the middle of Red Square, right next to the Kremlin, and he shouted out, he said, that Khrushchev is a Meshuggah. Of course, he was arrested within a minute. They took him to the judge, and the judge sentenced him to 2 life sentences, 100 years each, 100 years, 200 years in prison. And he says to the judge, I don't understand. Why 2? 3, 4, 1, 2. What would you get this idea of 2? And he says, because you committed 2 crimes. The first crime is you insulted the head of state, Khrushchev. That's you're guilty of that. And the second one is you revealed state secrets. So that's one joke about the Russian. The other one was another Jewish man. He went to the Red Square, and he flew a helicopter above, and he threw out 100,000 cards, pamphlets. And when he landed, the KGB arrested him, and they said they sentenced him to 100 years in prison in Gulag. And he said, "Why are you doing that?" He says, "Because you're fomenting revolution. You're handing out pamphlets in Red Square." And he says, "Yes, but the pamphlets were blank." And the KGB man says, "Yeah, you think we don't know what you were thinking about? We know what you were thinking." So that was the second one. So the only way to really understand what's going on in Russia is to understand the story of the Megillah. And with the Megillah, there's a very interesting thing about Queen Esther. If you look and you read the story and you read about Esther, you see that she's really the only person who really changes in the story. Mordechai is a holy man, a tzaddik from the beginning to the end. Haman is a wicked, he's a Hitler from the beginning to the end. Achashverosh is a drunk from beginning to end. Everybody says the same. But Esther undergoes a tremendous transformation. Because look at it. In the beginning of the Megillah, when you first 4 chapters that you read about Esther, you read about somebody who seems very meek, very unassuming, very shy. I mean, she didn't have parents, so she maybe, she was raised by Mordechai, and, you're not so, you don't feel that natural inner self-confidence and so forth. And when she was taken, she was passive against her will. She was taken against her will to be the queen. She wasn't interested in this, but she went along because Mordechai said, do it. So she didn't object. She did what she had to do. She went along with it. And even when they were taking the girls each night to go see Ahasuerus, so you could pick who to be his next wife, each one was told you could have anything you want in the world. And what does Esther say? She says, I don't need anything. So, she doesn't sound like she's like she's like the person, I don't need anything, I'm okay. She's not an assertive kind of person in the story until the second half of the story, which she's entirely in charge. She goes and tells Mordecai, who's the head of the Sanhedrin, he says, look, go gather all the Jews. And what you should do, you should fast. And you should fast for 3 days. And I don't care if it's Pesach, you still have to fast. And Mordecai is like, Mr. Humble. Yeah, oh yeah, okay, we'll do that. And then at the end, they don't want to write it, the Megillah, they don't want to write it. She says, I want to write the story down. And the Sanhedrin says, yeah, we can't do that. It causes anti-Semitism. And she's saying, no, you have to write this down and they have to learn it every year. It has to become part of the Bible. I mean, she is forceful. She's powerful. She plans this whole plan out, the two parties and how to trick Haman into coming to the first one and the second one and changing the words, as I said before. And she's got this whole plot. And she's like Mrs. in charge and power. And the question is, what changed her? What made this transformation? And I think that's a lesson for us too. We can transform ourselves also in a moment. And the answer is, the Rebbe gave this answer in the Sikha in 1962. He said, Mordecai said something to her, and it changed everything about how she looked at herself. It gave her a new soul, a new understanding. He said, who knows, maybe this is the very reason why you became the queen at this particular time. And what Mordecai was basically telling her was, there are two ways that we respond to panic and to trauma and to crises in our lives. One is, we're a victim of the circumstances. Consequences drive me. Situations drive me. What goes over the life is I'm a victim of my life, and I'm a victim of what's happening to me. And this is happening to me again. And what am I supposed to do about it? And you are reactive. And the other one is, you make your life. When Mordecai said to her, and she got it in her bones. He told her, he said, you know what? You're on a mission. And this is your mission. You were handpicked from God for this. The reason that you're there is just an accident what's happening in your life right now. This is not an accident. This is actually you have a part in God's script of the unfolding history of the Jewish people. And this is how you're going to be a contributor. In fact, all of us are here, as I said many times before, because of Esther. We would all be wiped out. So he told her, you know what? You're on a mission. And when you have a mission and this is what you're supposed to do, it carries you. It says that the Jews, carried the Aaron. It says the rabbis explained the Aaron actually carried the Jews. It was, they didn't have to lift it. It lifted them, and they would walk, and they would be holding these bars, and the ark, they would carry them. So when you're on a mission, when this is what you're supposed to do, it changes you. You're supposed to be doing this. This is what you're supposed to be doing with your life. And Esther understood that. She got it in her bones. She felt that this is what she's supposed to be doing. And it changed her entirely. There's a story with the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's when he came to America in 1929, and he was collecting funds for the yeshivas in Russia. And he came and he spoke when he first got here, and he spoke about how America is not different, and you can make yeshivas and so forth like that. That night, he writes in his diary, he writes an entry. He says, after I gave my speech, two men came to my apartment, two Jews, two Chabad Jews who came to America. They were American Jews, but they were connected. They were friends of mine. They were really big supporters of me. And they said, Lubavitcher Rebbe, you got to change your tune here. You're going to make a fool of yourself, and you're going to make it, you're going to embarrassment to yourself and to your parents and to your grandparents. America is different, and you can't expect America to be, a place of Judaism here. It's not like the old country. You have to change your tune. You have to understand what you're dealing with. 1929, America was not the place where there were yeshivas and that going on. It was unheard of. And the Frederick Aramba says, you have to know, that night when I first said the Shema that you say before going to bed, the amount of tears that I shed was incredible, but he didn't change his attitude. He felt the pain, he felt the suffering, but he knew he was on a mission. And because he knew he was on a mission, that carried him. And he started making yeshivas, and he changed the world. And other groups also started making yeshivas in the United States. And it changed the whole attitude of that you can be a Jew, much like you are in Russia, you can be a Jew 100% in America. Because he knew he was on a mission, just like Esther. I'm on a mission. And it may be difficult, and there might be tears associated with it, but if I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, this is it. This is great. I am empowered. I am able to do this. And I'm going to go back again. This is what is happening now in Ukraine. It's very interesting. There are Chabad Shluchim, and they are empowered. They are very strong. Some of them, a lot of them left, but not all of them. And the ones that stayed are just like, Jews are rallying. Jews are feeling empowered. And Rabbi Jacobson said he called one of these shluchim who were there, and he said, "How did you spend your Purim?" And the guy said, he said, "Oh, well, we had parties, and we had drinking, and we had celebrations, and we were singing." And he said, "Where were you? In the bunkers?" He said, "How can you do that? There's bombs falling down." And he said, "Rabbi, you have to understand, everything that I have learned in life, all of my experiences have been for this moment. The whole idea of being a leader, of love of the fellow Jew, of caring about other Jews, was called the Ichpatli, being a leader, being strong, this is all coming to a fore. It's like, this is all what I was designed to do. So how can I not feel empowered when I'm on my mission right now? This is what my whole life is about." So he says, and they're just ordinary people, just like Esther. Esther was an ordinary, so to speak, an ordinary person, and she became the leader. How did she do it? Because she knew this is her mission. It's not that life does not necessarily push us around. Circumstances don't define us. We have to define the circumstances. And when you know that you're on your mission and this is what you're supposed to do, then that gives you a certain power, because you know what? You're a piece of godliness. Another story with the Frederick Aramba that really hammers this point home. So this was also in 1929. And he came to America to collect money. Now, in 1929, it was right before the Great Depression. So a lot of the people who we came to ask for money, they said, all of my money is in the stock markets, it's in bonds. I can't cash it right away. Wait a little bit and I'll be able to cash it and give you the money. Of course, they all lost it in the stock market when it crashed. So they didn't get the money. But he went to one man, and this man was a Chabad Chassid in Europe. But when he came to America, like many other people, he threw that all away. And he made a big factory and he became a very rich man. He had a factory of making clothing, and he was a very big industrialist. So the Frederick Aramba, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, went to his house and told the man at the door, said, "I'm here I would like to meet the owner." So the owner came, and the owner sent a message back saying, "Here, take a check, give the man a check, give the rabbi a check, $18. Which is like $900 today. I'm sure he'll be very happy." So the Frederick Aramba sent back a message saying, "I don't want the check. I don't want the money. I want 5 minutes with your boss." So he comes out and he says, "Okay, you got 5 minutes. What do you want, Rabbi?" So the Rebbe says, "I hear that you were a tailor in the old country, and now that you're a very famous tailor, you got a really big business with clothing." Says, I have a shirt here, a kapata, and the button is falling off. I was wondering, you're probably good at this. Could you fix this button? And the man looks at the rabbi. "That's what you came here for? Where did you come from, Rabbi?" He says, "From Riga." He says, "Rabbi, from Riga to the United States is 5,000 miles. You're trying to tell me you couldn't find anybody in Latvia who can fix your button on your shirt in your kapata. You had to come 5,000 miles by boat, to get to here so that I can fix your button. You could fix buttons, but this says, the rabbi says, you find that hard to believe? And he says, yes, I find that very hard to believe, Rabbi. He says, good, I understand. And he says, let me ask you in turn a question. He says, and how many miles is it from heaven to this world that your soul traveled from Shemayim to come down into this world? And the man goes, I don't know. The rabbi says, Rabbi Schneerson tells him, he says, an infinite distance. So you're trying to tell me that your soul came down on this mission to this world just to be able to make coats and buttons and pin on buttons and make shirts for people? That's what you're here for in this world? And he heard this message and it changed him. It changed him because he realized, this is not what my life is all about. Rabbi YY said he told this story once at the bar mitzvah of one of his boys. And he has a brother who's sort of a bit very funny, very witty. And his brother, Baruch, he says, yeah, you know what? That man changed the name of his company. You know what it's called today? You know what? Lord and Taylor. So that's a joke. But it captures the idea, you are on a mission from the Lord. This is not your thing. You maybe have a big factory and you may have clothes and whatever and stuff like that, but we're here on a mission. And when you're here on a mission and you hear that and you internalize it, you really feel, that I may be, okay, this might be my life, and it may not look so exciting from the outside, and it may not get the interesting news reels and stuff like that, but it's my life. I've been set on a mission and I can deal with this and so forth because God set me on this mission. And obviously there's something important that I'm supposed to be doing with this mission. And it's not the circumstances, as I said, that drive your life. It's this that drives your life. I mean, this is really what you see happening with people and so forth. This is what's happening with this is how people are responding to this issue. And when you do that, you're empowered, you have energy. There's a story, another story about a man. He was recently, the story came out, I say Shliach in Bellevue, Washington. He says, there was a guy who came to my Chabad house, an Israeli Jew, and he told me how he got here. He said, I was a religious Jew. I lived in Jerusalem, and I had a business. And I needed money, a loan, and I went to some unscrupulous people and I asked for a lot of money. And then I had troubles and I wasn't able to repay the loan. And these people were really making my life miserable. And it was very, very difficult. And day went out and I just felt worse and worse and worse each day. And until finally I decided one day I was going to kill myself. So one morning he gets up and he decides, he's going to drive into his office in Jerusalem. There happens to be a bridge. There's a cliff nearby, and you just make a little turn, and you're finished. It's instantaneous death. So that's what he decided to do. The thing is that as he was leaving the house that morning, his wife calls out to him. She didn't know anything about this. She says to him, calls him by his first name, and says, we have a son learning in the Tribiner Yeshiva, and I have a package I really want to send to him. Can you drop this off on your way to work? Well, he had a problem. He was planning to die that morning, but he decides, I'll do one last good favor for my wife. I want her to be such a wicked person and so forth. I'll do that, and I'll drive off the bridge in the afternoon. So he drives. He goes to the yeshiva. It wasn't on his way. He meets the mashgiach at the door, the person who handles the physical needs of the boys, and he doesn't say who he is. He says, "Can you send this package to so and so?" And the guy thinks he's a taxi cab driver. He says, are you related to him? He says, yeah, actually, I'm his father. He says, you're the father of that boy? Let me tell you about your son. You can't believe it. He is the life of the yeshiva. He has such a head. He has such a heart. He has such an energy. He is so much full of joy. Where did you get the merit to raise such a kid? He is such an amazing boy. He makes the whole place work. Of course, I'll give it to him, And the guy goes back to his car and he's thinking to himself, says, I have a boy like this. I'm going to make him an orphan. I have a wife like I have, and I'm going to make them a war over money. And, he changed his mind. He rewrote his mind. He realized, what am I doing? And he left Israel. He came to America. He did very well. He paid back his loans, and he told them over the story. And the story is really, I think, tells you, it says that you have a mission here in this world. And two is how much you can do to another person just by telling them something nice about themselves, tell something nice about their children, tell them something, give them the compliment, don't hold it back. If you see something positive in another person, you can change their whole life. That's an important lesson. And that will tie us back to another fascinating thing. I'll finish off with this whole idea. You see, there's this guy who's the president of the Ukraine. Whatever you think about him, he used to be a comedian. He used to be a stand-up comedian. He makes like jokes and stuff like that. Nobody took him seriously. Putin certainly didn't take him seriously. And America didn't think he was much either, because they figured, this war's over in a minute, and so forth. They're not going to help. They're not going to stick out their hands. And this guy stood up, and he's become like the hero of the world. He says, right is right, wrong is wrong. Ukraine is not going to give in. We may be outnumbered and so forth, but you know what? We're gonna stand up. And it's just like, everybody is going, whoa, where did this guy come from? The Americans look so weak, and so forth. This guy is showing them, what? We thought the only battles that were left were boys should be girls and girls should be boys and so forth like that. And now they see, no, there's morality. There's a reason for fighting. There's a reason to stand up for truth. And the fact is, you just don't invade another country, no matter what they did in the past. You just don't do that. It doesn't, and even Switzerland, which hasn't woken up since 1922, who didn't even do sanctions against Hitler in there, has been affected by him, and they're doing sanctions against Putin. Whether it'll work or not, it doesn't matter. But one Jew, the power of one Jew, the one power of one Esther, the power of a person who knows he has a mission, a person who knows that they are here as an ambassador of God. They were sent down to this world not to build factories for clothing, but to inspire and to change the world. That's what's happening. And people are going, wow, this is really powerful. And I think that is the lesson of Esther, that each of us are a little Esther. We are shy, we're quiet, we don't feel like we can do much, we don't feel that we feel that our circumstances constrain us, and that our life constrains us, and our health issues constrain us, and this and who we are constrains us. You have no idea what little tiny micro things happen in the microcosm. When you affect one person, you touch one person, you change one person's life, how much that has a ripple effect on the entire world. That, I think, is really the lesson of why the Purim story is relevant today, and why we have to repeat this ideas over and over again, and read the whole Megillah, read the whole Megillah over again each year to be able to internalize the message. The message is, wow, you can change the world, you can change yourself, you can change everything. And it's not, and it doesn't mean that, it's magic. It means that all you have to really know is that with the tools that you're given, and the situation that you're given, much like Esther, that you can actually make a dent and change in the world. And that is class number 100. And I hope that was helpful. I was living with that a lot of this week. And I thought it was worth.
You were living with,
for the 100th.
You were living with what this week?
I was living with this story this week.
Oh,
I just heard. So
those are wonderful stories, Yecheskel Shimon. Thank you so much. When Purim was starting, I was wondering myself whether, during Purim and around this time, whether if Zelensky should take on a mitzvah like Esther did, if that would help in some way. But you're saying that what he's doing in terms of knowing his mission is sufficient.
Well, I just asked, is he Jewish? Of course he's Jewish.
But
his father fought in the Holocaust. His mother's Jewish. His father's Jewish. His grandfather fought in the World War II. No. Very
right.
Jewish.
That's why I was wondering if he took on a mitzvah like Esther did, praying and fasting, different things, whatever.
I'm sure he's.
I wondered if maybe it would have helped in some way, but from what you're saying, just the mission that he has of of changing everybody through his courage and through his determination. Sounds like that is the mitzvah.
The change of the Ukrainians, they're rallying around this Jew. It's just amazing. The Ukrainians. I mean, this is like, hello. They were so anti-Semitic, and the the history of Ukraine is a sad, sad story for the Jews. And yet, he is their hero. He is their hero. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. Just open your eyes and see what's going on in the world. It's just an amazing story.
It is amazing. Now, do you know how safe it is for the Chabad rabbis who are there? I mean, have you heard anything about?
I haven't heard any injuries or deaths or anything else going on. A lot of them did leave because in the places where they were, they stayed for a while, but then they said they had to, to leave. But some of them in the Dnipropetrovsk and Lvov and Kiev, they're still there. I mean, so they feel that they can't leave. So there were 183, shluchim families there. So and big programs and big schools and lots of stuff going on. So we it's and they're not crying.
Tremendous courage to go back, as some of them did. I think some of them went back too.
Okay, my wife, I think she's got her class, and she's also special. She's very special to me. So
thank you so much, and thank you for doing 100 classes. Yasher koach.
Okay, good. Thank you. Oh my goodness! Happy birthday to Vita Gabora. Happy birthday! I just saw it on.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. It's not my Hebrew birthday; it's a regular birthday.
It's your regular. When is your Hebrew birthday?
28 Adar 2.
28 Adar 2, and when is that going to be? That's
the 30th into the 31st.
Today is what's today?
The 21st. So in 9 days.
Yeah. Okay, good, awesome. Mazel tov. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
Of course, Facebook can't figure out the Hebrew birthday. That's right. Okay, good. Even if you told them, they don't have the logarithms for it yet. So, okay, good. So does anybody want to say anything before I begin?
Nice to see you.
Good. Very nice.
Nice to see all of you.
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so I'm going to start out quickly by saying the 4 things that I always say, which is that we're in a unique time. We're in an extraordinary time. The world is being tested. We're being tested, but it's because there's something cooking. And what is that thing that's cooking? The Lubavitcher Rebbe told us in 1992 that we have entered the era. We are entering the era of the final redemption of the Jews in the whole world. And we know that our souls were handpicked for this time. And we each have a special mission in this time. And we know that we have all the tools we need to succeed. We have the Torah. We have great leaders, Lubavitcher Rebbe like Moses in his time, and who gave us a map of what this time is all about. And finally, that what we're doing tonight actively furthers the process of redemption. And so anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about, I'm gonna say a couple things about gratitude, and then I'm gonna go into a personal story, something that's happening with me. And I think that's what's happening with me is a little bit like what Yeskel Shimon was talking about. It's going to tie into what Yeskel Shimon said. So this week I needed inspiration. So, once in a while I listen to this Hasidic lady from, she lives very a mile from Surrey. And I enjoy her classes. She just started a few years ago when she discovered the power of gratitude. And she started, the power of thanking Hashem profusely, not just something nice happens, you thank him. No, thanking Hashem profusely for everything. How nice it is to have socks. How nice it is, everything you can possibly think of. And what that does, it builds a correct relationship with Hashem. And it makes a person much calmer, much more trusting of the process. So when you see how much good Hashem is doing for you, you're willing to believe that he's going to do good for you in whatever challenge you're facing. So she was, this process for her began like 4 years ago. And I'm going to close the door because I can hear Eskil Shimon talking. 1 minute. Eskil Shimon, it's a little loud. Okay. So this process began for her like 4 years ago, but before that, she was the most anxiety-ridden woman in the world, she said. And but now she's so into thanking God for everything, and it has made her so calm. And her whole family caught on, and the husband does it, the kids do it. So what happened before Rosh Hashanah? Her, she was alone in the house, and the hot water heater broke, and it started. And there was a flood, and she had to arrange to fix it. She had to clean up the mess. She was cleaning it up alone. She was the only one there, I guess. And she was thanking Hashem through the process. She said, "Thank you, Hashem, that the hot water heater broke. Thank you that I get to clean it up, because these things are good. And if it wasn't good, you wouldn't have done it for me. And I'm sure that I know that everything that you do is good." And she thanked Hashem for everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. And she was commenting that had this happened to her 2 or 3 years before that, she would have dragged the whole family down with her. She would have, why is this happening to me before Rosh Hashanah? This is exactly not what I needed. This is like, so much money. Where are we going to get the money? We don't have money. It would have, anyway. But instead, she was thanking Hashem through the whole process. And when her kids came home, the younger kids said, "Mommy, what a miracle this is that the hot water heater broke. It's right before Rosh Hashanah. This must have saved us from something much worse happening." And she said she got such nachas over it. And if she got such nachas, such joy, just Jewish joy over it, imagine the Jewish joy Hashem gets over such a thing. She also told another little story. I think it's from the Garden of Gratitude. It's either from that or the Garden of Mamuna by Rabbi Shalom Arush, 2 famous books that have changed a lot of people's lives. So the story is about an Orthodox cardiologist. He had a string of patients in the afternoon, a very busy schedule, and he was looking over what's ahead for him. And he sees there's a patient on there. It's not his patient. It's his partner's patient. What is she doing going to him? He doesn't understand. Anyway, so he realized, whatever. She's on his patient list. He's going to deal with her. When it's time for her to come in the room, she comes in with her husband, and she looks like a wreck. She's just a devastated woman. And he picks up her test results, which is what she came for. He looks at them and he says, "Madam, you have great test results. Your heart is perfect. You're going to live to 120. May you live to 120. You're in great shape." And she still looks absolutely devastated. And he said, "Excuse me, I gave you good." He doesn't understand why she's depressed. I just gave her great news. And the husband, the couple is about 80 years old. And the husband explains, this is how my wife is. She probably should be on medication for depression. We lost our daughter, our 19-year-old daughter, 35 years ago in a very tragic accident. And my wife has never been able to throw it off. She's never been able to surface after it. And he might have said the name of the place or some of the circumstances. And the cardiologist said, "Where exactly did it happen? And what did you say that circumstance was? Can you give me more details?" And when they gave him more details, he said, "I was 10 years old at that time, and I was at that accident. I saw it." He said, "And I saw the medics, and I saw them put a tarp over your daughter. And I went there, and don't ask me, only a boy could do this. A little girl would never do this. I went over there and I lifted the tarp. I guess when nobody's looking, he lifted the tarp to see the body. And he was shocked. She was beautiful. Her face was so calm and so beautiful, and her body was completely intact." And later on, it impressed him so much. Later on, when he became a cardiologist, he thought back on that accident, and he thought, what? I bet what could have happened is that the accident severed her main artery and resulted in instant death. And that's why she was still so calm and peaceful looking. So the mother was astounded. The father was astounded. and they felt a little they felt a little bit better, but not completely better. They felt a little bit better, and they left him. And they finished the appointment. A year later, the cardiologist runs into this old couple on the street, and he sees them. They're a little ways away, and he sees them. They're laughing like they look like a giggly young couple. They're like such a cheery, giggly young couple. And he goes over to them and he asks what happened. And somebody apparently had given them the Garden of Gratitude, and they took it seriously and they learned it, and they started thanking Hashem. And what happens when you start thanking Hashem profusely is that it corrects your relationship with Hashem. Not that, oh, I have to be so grateful this, and I have to be, no, it reawakens your love for Hashem. It reawakens, our relationship with Hashem is the reason we're in this world, and it is the greatest romance of all time. When we are sane, we know that this is, Hashem took a piece of himself, which is our soul, and he sent it down to this world, to this dark world of doubled and redoubled darkness, with the mission of reconnecting to him and remembering the romance. That's the whole purpose we're in this world. When we thank Hashem, we regain sanity, we regain trust in who Hashem is, instead of being some force that is withholding from me what I really need, and it's a pain in the neck, and I can't go on with why is he doing this to me now? Instead, it corrects it, and we remember that it's the biggest romance. So anyway, this past month, I've had a challenge. If you remember in an earlier session, I told you that I went to, actually I had somebody come here, a chiropractor, right? And I forgot to tell him that I have an old neck injury. And I really liked the way he worked on me, but at the very end, he did something very daring with my neck. I forgot to tell him that I had an old injury. And when I sat up, I had vertigo, nausea, everything. I ran to the kitchen. I didn't run to the kitchen. I carefully walked to the kitchen, and I threw up, and my neck hurt for the next 7 hours, seriously hurt. And thank God it stopped hurting. And I had the class the next night, and I told you guys all about it, and I was fine then. But what happened later that week is that there was a kid, and the son of a friend of mine, and he was sort of like falling backwards. And I reached out and I grabbed his arms, and I didn't think twice about it. It was like a lurching action. And that night, my neck started to hurt again, and the middle of my back started to hurt again. And it has not stopped for a month. And I kept expecting, this is going to go away. This is going to go away. This is going to go away. And finally, if you have a problem, it's your responsibility to do something about it. That's a big part of life. We have to do, it's called hishtadlus. We have to take care of ourselves. So I got an appointment with a physical therapist. I went to the doctor. A doctor ordered x-rays. I got the x-rays. I wasn't so excited about what the x-rays said. And I started to go, oh, this is what happened to me. And it's really it's not the end of the world, but it's very limiting. It's been very limiting. My neck is in a good state today, a better state today, because I can wear my pearls. On a bad day, I can't stand the weight of the pearls, and I can't stand the weight of an apron. I can't look up. I can't look down. I can't read like this. I have to put the book up here. It's just like I'm not used to being it's like I'm not used to all those things. So it was after I got the x-rays and I read the results, I was sort of like shuttling downwards in my mood. And I knew that this is not the way to go. So I did what I often do, is I listed a whole bunch of things that I was grateful to Hashem for. And afterwards, after I did that, I was able to talk to Hashem. And I said, Hashem, thank you for what's happening with my neck, because it's only you, Hashem, that's doing it. If you're not, if you wouldn't want this, it wouldn't happen. It's something directly from you. And because it's from you, I'm grateful for it. Because if it's from you, that means there's something for me to achieve. There's something for me to do with this thing. And I'm grateful to you. I don't like it. I'm not particularly comfortable with it. And I told Hashem everything I felt about it. I told him all the things I didn't like, but I thanked him anyway. And I asked him for help. I said, Hashem, please help me. I want to align myself with you. I want to make you my king. I don't want to pull away in any way. And I talked very, very, very sincerely with Hashem. And then I did, you're going to think this is an irrelevant part of the story, but I think it's relevant. Then I did something that Yaskel Shimon wanted me to do. When you, it has nothing to do with the story. It's just like when you, it's sort of like, when I make my husband, when I make his will big in my life and not my own concerns, it's a spiritual thing too. And right after I did that, right after I did the kindness of doing what Yaskel Shimon wanted, right after that, I had like these words poured out of my mouth, and I wrote them down. And I said, it just was so clear to me. I said, Shalom is Yehudis. What you do with your neck is earth shattering. It brings Geula, or it drives Geula, it drives redemption away. And my attitude towards what's happening is am I going to like pull away from Hashem in distrust and disappointment? Am I going to pull away from the Rebbe in distrust and disappointment because I got a bracha from the Rebbe to see that chiropractor? And if I do that, then I am not only hampering my own life, I'm pushing the redemption away. I'm pushing all these things away. And I wrote down, okay, what you do with your neck is earth shattering. It brings Geula or drives it away. We are not private people. We are interconnected. We are huge. And I wrote down, I'm daring to believe in the Rebbe's bracha, and I'm daring to believe in a different future, that this is going to work out. And it occurred to me, if we don't believe in good for ourselves, if we don't believe in an individual redemption for ourselves from whatever burden we're carrying, can we really expect a global redemption? And it occurred to me, maybe believing in our own individual redemption is the key that unlocks the global redemption. If one by one we're trusting Hashem, we're believing in Hashem with our big stuff, whatever's ailing you, then that builds the quotient of trust in the world. And we're bankrolling trust, and we are creating a different world. And when we create, we are the ones that bring Geula. We know it's not Hashem. We are the ones that bring Geula. And how much better? What way could be better than by building our trust in Hashem? So I'm going to end there, and not that I'm going to end the class. I'm just going to end the recording, and ask if any.